Christianity is one of the very interesting religion. We have one common ground, which is the Bible. We've got one book of life that is uniting us, which is the Word of God. What is interesting is that the same Bible is interpreted by different pastors, apostles, bishops, scholars, anyone, believers, anyone you want to say. As a result, we've got multiple and different doctrines as believers. The truth of the matter is Christianity and uNkulunkulu yedwa, not Jesus mkhulu afuthi yedwa. So we started the Power Hour, not because we wanted to create a division, but we wanted to encourage engagement for people to sit in the one platform and discuss. I think this is how we should worship God, and I think this is how we should be living as Christians. Ekugcineni is to show the world ukuthi in as much as we've got multiple doctrines or different doctrines, kodwa ekugcineni kosuku umuntu osigranda uChrist. That is why sometimes we turn stones and izinto zibe uncomfortable. Ubona abantu sengazuthi kuyaxatshana, kodwa at the end of the day you see us having tea together because siyakhumbula ukuthi what is grounding us is Christ. So I want you to understand as you watch the show ukuthi the purpose of the show kahle kahle is to encourage dialogue, create a good spirit amongst believers, and make sure ukuthi these doctrines that we are following divide. There's only one ground, which is the Word of God and I want to tell you we will keep on turning the stones, but we know the center is Christ. As we always say, if Christ is not in the center, Power Hour is not there. Sit back, relax, as we turn more stones. This is Power Hour. I am Pastor Zweli Dlamini. Welcome to Power Hour. Siyabingelela bazalwane wherever you're tuning from. Sibingelela ngegama likaKristu Jesu. Amen. Greetings to all of our followers. Inceku zikaNkulunkulu have tuned in. Those who are tuning in for the first time, we welcome you. Ulesithathu Ndamane. We're excited. Ngibonga uNkulunkulu ithuba sipha lona once again lokuba sihlangane kule platform yePower Hour. Sibonge last week kumfundisi Mathabela for the conversation that we had. Siqhubeka la indaba ukuthi church, we are looking at the church beyond COVID. Ukuthi ngabe COVID ithathe yasibekaphi. Sibongile nama comments enwathumelile. Thank you so much, and the suggestions that you've made. Namhlanje siqhubeka na indaba nabafundisi lasibuka khona church beyond COVID. I want to remind you ukuthi this conversation this program is for abazalwane, made by abazalwane. So if you are listening to this which is the center of everything that we say, but you are free to tune in and comment ngenhlonipho kuvela ukuthi sabantwana bakaNkulunkulu. Sit back and relax as we turn stones nezinceku zikaNkulunkulu sibheka nje ukuthi ama effects eCovid enze njani. Last week umfundisi Mathabela excuse wakhuluma ngokuthi kube plagiarizwa ngisho intshumayelo manje sebeyabanjwa abantu ngoba idlala ku Facebook. So ake sizwe namhlanje ukuthi sizotholani. Simukelele ingcezo zaNkulunkulu. Baba Ndamane.
Baba njani?
Yaphila mfowethu.
Siyaphila baba.
Number one boss.
Praise.
Bese sophatha impicture yami la umfundisi weIT lo. Umfundisi uNdamane wala boss.
Njani?
Ugrant.
Hayi hle kakhulu.
Number one. So ke yeah, bafowethu. Ake sibuke lento. There is a change.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether we like it or not, but there's a change.
Yes.
What are the effects of COVID in the church? I know sometimes it's difficult to look at the church, but it effects outside the church, organizations, so we can't just look at church only. We will also touch into examples of organizations. But what are the effects of the church beyond COVID?
Yes, I think
yes.
I think observation is now we have been challenged.
Okay.
As a church,
yeah,
we have been challenged in terms of technology. Ukuthi singene isiphoqile to accelerate to the digital world.
Yep.
That okokuqala lokho. Number two is shayile kakhulu kwi fellowship.
Okay.
Because sikholelwa kwi-fellowship physical.
Yes. Yeah.
So we had to cope with the situation la khona abantu kade bengekho khona.
Yeah.
It challenged us, not as preachers, pulpitarians,
Yeah.
as speakers, ekutheni sikwazi ukukhuluma and create
Yeah.
audience in our minds, audience engekho.
Yeah.
Yes. But at the same time, it has developed us. It has developed us ekutheni your content as a preacher or as a speaker ingabi nama gimmicks.
Okay.
Ukwazi ukucarrysha i-message okuyiyona yona. But number 2, enye yezinto eyenzile i-expose our church members to different people abama preachers. So in a way iyakuchallenger ukuthi you must do research because you're no longer competing per se. Ngisoyisigaba lokukhompyutha abantu akusibona abantu bakho wedwa.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bakhona
bane access yokuthi babuke kwenye indawo.
Yeah.
Yes. So ilezo zinto lezo engayikhumbula, but at the same time as well ku challenge ukuthi what have you taught? Ufundiseni. I'll make an example of giving. Uma ngabantu bejwayela ukunikela ngoba bephambi kwakho to impress you. We were found wanting in that area. So in a way khona izinto ezipositive bese khona izinto ezinegative affecting us. So yeah, basically ngizoqala lapho for now.
Ansakwazi nokupledgisa ukuthi ngicela bonke aba 200 rand baphakame. Ngicela aba 100 rand kunzima ukwenzela ku online.
It's difficult kodwa you can't do ama pledges online. Ukuthi you
wafuna kubona bonke abantu
ubafuna kubantu. In fact uma uyisebenzisa kahle online ungaba network eningi yokupledgisa than you would have in your church because it's narrowed, but the scope is wide depending ukuthi uya-impact yini le audience lena that you are able to reach out to. Yes.
Yeah, no, I think siyabonga kakhulu ithuba. I think one of the things ezibalekile ukuthi sibuke yokuqala ilena yokuthi post COVID life has changed. There's been a move and a shift in terms of life, ne reality of life in general. But post COVID, noma ngithi COVID accelerated a change that was already happening. Yes. So it's not like there was no change happening. There was change that was happening. I think COVID then accelerated that change.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm not looking at a change happening from an aspect of a church alone, because a church is an organization within a society.
Yeah.
And that organization is made up of people who belong to a society. They belong to a family, they belong to work, they work somewhere, they buy somewhere, they wear particular kind of clothes. So we are somehow very much integrated, and then we make an organization from there. So COVID then has just accelerated a huge change that has been happening in terms of society as a whole. And the challenges that we see today inside the church are not isolated from the challenges that we see in the society in general. You know, so that's where we are at the moment. We are at a point where change, COVID has made us realize a change that has been happening in the world. Of course, most of it's been ushered by technology, and the change has been driven by technology, and that is what has caused a huge shift in terms of life in general. And although bekubukhona ukuthi si adapted to the change, noma I process yokadapta to change was slow. So COVID yaba catalyst eyenza ukuthi simove fast into this generation or into this era esikuyona. So we are now finding ourselves in this era, and sekufanele manje sibe nale awakening esesinayo yokuthi see how do we survive then in this kind of environment. And that's what I think COVID has done, or living post-COVID has done. So there was a change that was happening before. COVID was just this catalyst, not really a catalyst, part of us, but it actually was part of the change that occurred, and then it also so it was an accelerated the change, and we are now finding ourselves in this age, which is your digital age, and we now have to try and find how do we live in this digital age.
Yeah.
Manje bafowethu anisho ukuthi lento iphinde expose nendlela okukhonzwa ngayo into ebikade behind closed doors yaziphumela kwi public, because almost every week manje you find people challenging into eshungelwayo, you find people challenging some of the procedures emasontweni, in particular iminikelo. You have people who are more vocal now, and believers who are against certain iminikelo khona. You've got people who are more vocal who are against certain doctrines. Umfundisi eshumayela kona obhalayo athi lento eshuwa ayikho, ngithi uyazi livesa lisho lokho.
Yeah.
And this is something that we've never seen, where a preacher mayishumayela uphakamisa isandla. Don't you think ukuthi mhlambe somehow uNkulunkulu lisizile ibandla lapho ukuthi ibandla likhulume into ukuthi angithi correct? Because mawubuka i-style of preaching uJesu ayisebenzisa, you see even from reading the scripture ukuthi uJesu wayishumayela abanye bemphikisa ngoba ukwashiya into abafarisi bamphikisa, ashiya into athi ngimdala mina nginoAbraham.
Yeah.
Abafarisi bathi khona la wathi khona ngimdala ngoAbraham, bathi abafarisi kade sisolo ukuthi uyahlanya, kodwa manje you have just confirmed the case yokuthi uhlanya ngempela ukuthi umdala. Leyo nto leyo yenze kakushungayelo.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But mhlambe ayisizange COVID yasibuyisele ku preaching style yakudala engqwele noma engazi.
I don't know. Mina my take is COVID, that exposure la khona kuvuleka khona ileto, kuvuleka ispace ukuthi bonke abantu babe nama views. Yenza into ecreateile ukuthi you must work on your craft. That's number one. As a preacher, you must understand your doctrine. You must understand what you stand for, and you must be able to back it up. That's number one. Number two, you must also understand ukuthi you are giving abantu your standpoint. Yabo lonto esenza ba check ukuthi what is yini omigyon. Yabo lonto, and then abantu bese beyakhetha ukuthi baz align nawe noma baz align nawe. Yabo lonto. So in a way you feel ngazi ukuthi isenze sakwazi ukuthi siyokwenza ilokhu ne research. Yes, isenze sikwazi ukwenza i-research, ube ne content, ube ne understanding yalento osuke ikhuluma. But number two, iqiniso libhlungu ukuthi njengama preachers asifani. Khona umshumayeli wasendlini, bese kuba khona umshumayeli of a particular environment, of a township, of a rural area. Bese kukhona umuntu one message yasendlini, kube khona umuntu one message yakwi township noma yakwi rural. Kodwa i-social media ikuthatha ikufaka ku global stage. Ibuza ukuthi ke, do you have a message? Le ekwazi ukureach, do you have a global message?
Ezophelela emaqongo.
Yes, or noma une message yasemakhaya noma une message yabantu abamnyama. Yabo leyonto. I-message yakho, does it resonate? Do you have a message that cuts across all amalokuzana go bonke ilo amaspheres? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, look, I think we've also come for it's more I'm coming more from a digital side, because one of the things esenzile kuthe kufike COVID and we tried to accelerate move it to the digital side. Digital platforms noma ngithi the area and the era esiphila kuyona, it's a knowledge era. it's where knowledge has been exposed.
No, it's true.
So we have so many people and so many sources of knowledge. And not only that, now we also have so many sources now that when people get onto platforms, they expose their lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
So you find people who begin to comment not just on preaching, but they comment on anything and everything.
Yeah.
You know, so social media and the digital platforms have given people a voice to speak, first of all.
Yeah.
Whether they are correct or incorrect, they will speak.
Yes.
But if we look at it from a positive side, you will then discover, Uguti, it's given us a voice to speak because we are now exposed to knowledge. So if you are going to talk to me, knowledge yakho ngizoyicheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, udokotela is trained to become a doctor. But before ngiye kudokotela, ngiyoqala ngiye ku-Google. Ngicheck yonke enye into engingayithola before I go to the doctor. Mangiya kudokotela ngiyo-confirm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So uthi mayekhuluma sengiyambuza what about lokhu nalokhu.
Yeah.
Because I'm living at a time where I'm exposed to knowledge.
Knowledge. Yeah.
You know, so I can do a phone call to a specialist. I can do, we are going also with the introduction of 5G and all these other technologies, even your 3D printing, they're coming to a point where technology is going to bring over quite a lot of advancement in the science, including in preaching to some extent.
Yeah.
But point is, we're living with digital era where there's too much information. So post-COVID, we've been given a voice. Sinikezwe voice. Abantu banikezwe voice. So awukwazi ukusiropa anymore because noma ngabe kuthiwa uyi-professional awukwazi ukungiropa. Noma ngabe kuthiwa umfundisi awusakwazi ukungiropa. I've got sources to check you against many things.
Abantu ababenefitayo labangcwele because uma umntwana kaNkulunkulu kade eshungezwa umuntu lapha eklasini evuku zakhe from so many years ingaphumi ku-Facebook emshuma izinto eziphosizwe then angene ngaye
ukhululile manje
ukusho ukuthi uNkulunkulu umsizile umzalo ngoba phela for so many years umuntu kaNkulunkulu ubemtshela ukuthi uJohn wakhwinya ufish kanti uJona wakhwinya ufish kanti it's the other way around for so many years eyazi manje ukuthi ufish wona wakhwinya uJona you know because lento ibifihliwe
yeah abantu isikhathi esiphila kusona i-challenge ngoba bazoba exposed as well to singayibuki kuphela on ekutheni mhlambe so affecteka njengabefundisi cha abantu bazoba exposed to false doctrine. The false doctrine that will appeal to them, that will make sense to them, but it's a false doctrine.
But akhona nje ama-watchdog nje manje. Angithi khona ama-watchdogs njengamanje agade isiphosi esithi show umgcotsho for so many years. Kodwa futhi akhona namanye ama-watchdogs athi le doctrine yakhe false.
Yeah, but what I'm saying mina ukuthi you have Ndamane with the doctrine. We have got Dlamini with the doctrine, right?
Yeah.
Kule doctrine ka Dlamini, it's a false doctrine, but Dlamini is very good to back it up. Wrong injalo.
The scripture.
Iyenze sense.
The scripture.
You understand? Bese egcina because Dlamini is more articulate, is eloquent and uyakwazi usayitadishile lento yakhe yokulimaza umuntu agcine limele umuntu kwi social media kwi digital platform elalele ilokuzana i-message kanti kade siphila before COVID ubunabantu bakho othi kubona no uma ngabe uzoya endaweni ethize uyofellowship esontweni elithize fanele usichazele khona sizokutshena ukuthi no you can't go to the church because une doctrine wrong yabona lento nabantu abanjengathi
unjomani uthi asiba indoctrinate sibavalele.
That's what we are doing. That's what we are doing. But njengamanje we are giving them liberty because they've got liberty but they listen to everybody. Njengoba belalela kubo bonke abantu i-reality yakhona ukuthi bakhona bazolimala as they listen to false doctrine. They'll be entangled to that false doctrine bese beyadleka.
konke nje manje yeah ngiyakuzwa ukuthi absolutely there will be a false doctrine.
Yes.
Kodwa futhi there is also another correct doctrine.
Yes.
Asebezoba expose kuyona abe ehlukile kule yakho.
No, that is true.
Ake senze example
That is true.
Ukuthi sivale iCovid bafowethu before kuvalwe country abantu bebeyinikele lokweshumi kungenankinga ungekho umsindo.
Yes.
Okay, manje njengamanje mawungena nje manje kuno social media platform.
Yes.
Ukhulunywa ngokweshumi.
Yeah.
Ukuthi okweshumi nje base kukhulumelekile abafundisi laba umfundisi ekuchitha na yonke into. And everybody's jumping up and down. And kuphendula amakholwa futhi.
Yeah.
Uthi kade sabonke kudlalwa ngathi.
Yes.
You understand? And futhi kuwese ngoba umuntu osho lento umuntu ode ishumela kakhulu.
Yeah, that's true.
Umuntu oyiphushe kakhulu umfundisi uDollar is taught as published material on tithing.
Yes.
Yabo. So now uma engasagcina ukuthi sengishintsha umqondo aphinde axolise, somehow is insinuating ukuthi shuthi everyone who's doing it or continues to do it is doing some defrauding abantwana bakaNkulunkulu. So uyabona manje ukuthi yabo nje manga uthatha leyo nto umuntu olalele manje would say is it a false doctrine noma sekukhulumela iqiniso kodwa thina silichitha yabo ileyo engizama ukuthola.
I think from a scholastic point of view,
Yeah.
most of the scholars, I mean, if ukhuluma ngoJesu,
Yeah.
and you made an example of how uJesu would speak and bamphikisa.
Biggest, yeah.
From a scholastic point of view, scholars have always argued for or against each other.
Yeah.
So I think what sisesikhathini la khona we noma ubani okhulumayo kufanele avume ukuhlolwa unombani.
Yeah.
Ukuthi lento ishoyo ngithi i-right noma iya-bad, regardless ukuthi mina engishoyo ukuthi i-right noma i-wrong ngi-right yini. Kodwa the time esikuyona it now allows everyone to challenge anyone. Akusho ukuthi angize ngibe right ukuze ngikuchallenge.
Yes.
I could be 100% wrong. Kodwa the good thing is now I've got a platform to say right noma wrong.
Yes.
So I think that's an important part.
Yeah.
So the opening up of a space and knowledge and the platforms for people to speak have given them the freedom to be able to voice their opinions. Actually, if uzobona ku social media voice ama opinions boldly and freely.
Yes, I also wanted to ngifuna ukukhuluma lento elokuza. I just want to comment on
very
on the issue.
Futhi I think I'll be doing justice manganibuzanga.
On the issue
ngizobabuza ngeke baphume ngababuza. Ngoba manje asazi ukuthi ubani othajayo nobani ongathaji. Ngizobabuza kodwa kukhululekani bala le.
No, it's for me that issue is a non-issue.
What is non-issue?
The issue of tithing and Creflo Dollar. It's a non-issue. I don't even think we should entertain it. I don't think we should entertain it.
So you don't fully suppose it?
Creflo Dollar. No, it's his own. Lokuzan. It's the way abuga ngayo, and it doesn't mean it's mine. It doesn't mean it's yours. You understand?
So he's not speaking for you, basically.
No, I'm saying ukuthi it depends. Yazi ukuthi khona umunye umuntu obuka indaba okweshumi ngoba ebuka ukuthi kuyinto enkulu. You understand? Akubona njengento enkulu athi Creflo Dollar uzosikhulula from paying tithes. But the question that you need to ask yourself, because giving is allowed.
Yeah.
No, is elevating. Uthi I minimum leninikela mhlawumbe u10% uzo replace ngani. You understand? So I mean what I'm saying ukuthi whether you give tithes or you don't give tithes, for me it's immaterial. Nikela. Kodwa I minimum le ya 10%.
Paul Colsedan.
No, I don't have a problem with him. He must say whatever he wants to say. But I'm saying ukuthi uJesu akasifaka ngo10 wasifaka 100. Yes. So angazi uma uhlulwa if you are arguing ngo10 kusho ukuthi uzoya 100%. Ngoba lithi iBhayibheli indoda eyayicebile iyeza kuye.
Shuthi yabazwela nje ukuthi abahlale kutheni. Usukubazwela uma uthi umuntu abanikele 10%. No uyabazwela. uJesu uya indoda ecebile yafika kuye yathi ngikwenzile konke ngakwenza konke ngagcina ilokuzana ayikho into engayenzile. Wayesethi uJesu hayi
sekusele ke manje nikela yonke into onayo yabonikela labampofu
Very difficult.
lithi iBhayibheli le ndoda yakhe ayithandanga leyo
Yeah, it was very
wafayinikela 100%. So I'm saying ukuthi no, it's fine if you've got a problem with 10%. Kusho ukuthi asinankinga kusho ukuthi wena ufuna ukuya ngaphezulu ayikho lokho la nike problem.
Hey. Mfundisi indaba. Nakudola ukhulumile. Emva kweCovid wathi uyaxolisa ukuthi sitayikhuluma impela. I think bese kuselithatha nje makhona amrobhili. Eza azomnikeza embuyise siphinda phindiwe.
Ngicabanga ukuthi asimmeme kupower.
Kufanele simthole ngempela. Ngoba nafuna ukuthi uxolisane.
But I think look in all fairness abalandeli bePower Hour have seen how you've dealt with the issue kweshu. I mean, we can go back to 2 years ago if ungaphosisi.
Yes.
2 years ago.
It was huge. So this is not new to abalandeli bePower Hour. Empeleni ngicabanga ukuthi abalandeli bePower Hour but
Sasayikhuluma leyo.
it's an awakening to him manje sesidlulile akasitshela okusha yabo. But I think abantu abathukile abantu who are new to the but the honest truth is again for me it's the power of information. Uma kungukuthi uNdamane wakufundisa ngokweshumi, someone is saying is now saying it's not scriptural in the New Testament. It tests a teaching which one is now going to weigh heavier for you nozoyithatha because it then goes to a conviction yakhe sikuphi. And of course I always argue and say we don't preach the truth and underline and find what in the commas of truth. I say we preach a conviction.
All right.
So from the truth we take the truth, then once we are convicted, that's what we preach.
That's true.
So if then I'm convicted on something today, ngizoyishumayela mase sengiconvicted otherwise ngizoshumayela. Well, that's what preachers do. You are convicted, then you speak.
Because conviction is progressive.
Maybe
before seeing God in namanje akufani.
I think it
have
was
to keep on going around apologizing and destroying the material.
I think it was in him. I don't know, but from my own analysis, I think for him it was a gross change, or he saw it as a gross, or no, it was a huge identifier. Be identify wanako kweshumi nemnikelo ne-prosperity gospel. So uma eseshintsha, I think then he had to come and reintroduce himself because now he's taking a totally different tune. Kodwa the very honest truth is I think fanele adopt lokho ukuthi we are convicted on something else today and then we move forward. Naleyo conviction we could change sibe enye into kusasa.
I-conviction yakho namhlongo isamile ukuthi
no, I don't have, no ngisamile lapho mina yes, I think apology ga Creflo Dollar with due respect to him, I like him. It depends ukuthi mina I feel ukuthi if mina bengisezicatshuleni zakhe I would not apologize. Because no matter ubunikelo kweshumi no matter ubunikelo 50%, ngokwami you are doing the will of God, which is to give. Which is to give, and so the ultimately uNkulunkulu akawadli amandla omuntu. uNkulunkulu uyakubusisa as you give. I don't understand. So there will be no need to apologize. Kodwa you would feel a need to apologize uma ngabe if you went extreme. Kuma extreme waze wakhuluma izinto ezi-wrong. Waxhopha abantu ngoba ufuna umnikelo. That's when you must apologize, because any problem that we have as preachers is that it's something of fanele si masterishe ukuthi when you preach about a particular topic or subject, it is important that you don't do it at the expense of another important subject.
Yeah.
Yes. So i-challenge yethu ungakwazi ukubalansisa kahle ukuthi uma ngabe ngishumayela ngento ethize ngize ngibe extreme, ngiviolate ama principles of another subject ngoba I'm trying to emphasize the point that I want to emphasize. Yabona. So it's into of esikwazi ukuyibalansisa. Yabona nto ubalansisa ukuthi, I'll make an example ukuthi we speak about going to heaven. You understand? There is a person that would preach about going to heaven. Yabona nto. Athi izinto zasemhlabeni yonke into yasemhlabeni useless. I don't understand. So that is ushumela ngento ebalekile.
Yeah.
Kodwa at the expense of another important thing.
Yeah.
You understand? Bese kuba khona umuntu ozokhuluma ngomhlaba.
Yeah.
Akhulume ngabantu umhlaba alishaya indaba yasezulwini.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Ukuthi ubalekile into ayikhuluma yasemhlabeni. Kodwa not at that expense.
Yeah.
Ngoba ekugcineni yonke into yasemhlabeni futhi sizoyishiya ngithi yabona. So I think it's important ukwazi ukubalansisa zonke lezi zinto njenganalezo, and I think lokhu uma kuukuthi umfundisi Creflo Dollar ukhuluma ngama extremes of certain statements awenzile in order to emphasize the issue of tithing, then he needs to apologize for that. But I don't think ukuthi you should apologize ngelokhuzana ngendaba yokunikela umuntu enikelile wenza intando kaNkulunkulu, which is to give, bese ube ngathi
wena uxolisa indawo wena ngalento ayishoyo
about
ukuthi abantu bakhokhisa kweshumi kuyanika ka.
No, there's nothing wrong with the khokho kweshumi. In fact elementary stage yokukholwa is to give okweshumi.
Ukuthi abayikhuphula.
Yes, unikelo kweshumi. No, first figure la khona ngelila uNkulunkulu yosibusisa ngalendlela la khona sesiphila ngokweshumi thina sesinikela u90%.
Should fanele ikhuphuke at some point. uNkulunkulu asisize.
uNkulunkulu fanele asibusise ngalendlela leyo ukuthi
sikhuphule. Sikwazi ukukhuphula thina abanikelayo.
Yeah, because it's just a minimum. A minimum requirement.
10%.
Our 10% is the minimum. In fact, uma sesikhuluma nge-sacrificial giving, akusiwona 10% sacrificial giving. It's more than that. Yes.
Interesting. Wena uyaxolisa. Noma uxolisa. Ubiphi? Uyazi umhlongo uphumela obala. Angi-understand ukuthi ubiphi.
Ibambe ngakho.
I think
noma nawe uthi kudlalwa ngabantu.
All givers, people who are givers, in my view, it's my view ukuthi vela akaze bawunikela 10%.
Abantu abanikela ngempela.
Abantu nje abantu abanikelayo. They never give 10%, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So noma ungayifundisa imfundiso ka 10%. So ke mina iview yami ithi teach about giving. Once imfundiso yokunikela isitshalekile. It is far beyond 10%. Futhi giving is not confined into the four walls of the church. Uyakwazi ukuthi mawudle restaurant uma usheshe wasutha uNkulunkulu akunikeza ukuthi usheshe usuthe uthatha take away ungafiki naye ekhaya uyinikeza iphara emgwaqeni, because giving is new. So point lami mina lithi giving is givers. No, but that's where I'm going. No, but you have fed someone. I mean uJesu belo singayisa kuleso scripture uthi ngangiboshiwa ningivakashelanga ngangilambila ningifidanga. So that's why I'm saying givers never give 10%, because they go beyond ukunikela esontweni. They go outside the boundaries. Actually they go beyond their own families. They feed quite a lot of people.
So now we are collapsed to 10% njengo Creflo. It must go beyond.
My point is, people who have been givers have never given 10%.
Yeah.
Ilobuthi uyabaleka bafethu. Ngithi ngizama ukuthi akaphumele obala mhlongo.
Issue ya 10% is a non-issue. Lenja 10%
I don't think nami I think mina I would encourage umuntu nje office ukwazi ngo 10%. Athi go back to our teachings, like Pastor Kopozi spoke about 10%. And other pastors spoke about 10%. So you've got quite a lot of content.
Yes.
You have
Yeah.
great content on always
Around 10%.
Yeah, so this is it's not a new issue. I don't even think we should be discussing the issue. Like power hour, dala saba empower abalandeli power hour ukuthi
power hour
this issue.
sesiphezulu ko 10%. La ku power hour ngathi sesiko 50%. Sesingelo 50 60.
Ngifuna sibuke le ndaba yokuthi siyavumelana ukuthi lento iyaphazamisile amasonto in terms of numbers, physical warm bodies are no longer there. People baqhamuka nama fresh revelations ukuthi abaye bathaseke isidingo sa 10%. People are questioning it now openly. Some have lived bengakhokho kweshumi, benganikeli, bangaba nalutho, sebeyitshela ukuthi soba nani pho manje. So that has affected ama finances amabandla.
Yes.
Angifuni ukuthi abafundisi because qala kuboshaya ibandla institution, then ultimately bese kushayeka ama employees noma abantu ama volunteers who have been fed through or supported through that structure. Now how do we bring back the financial viability of the church?
Yeah, I think as vume kuqala ukuthi we are leading my organizations.
Okay.
And affectekanga amasonto kuphela.
Yeah.
Ku-affecteke the whole world nge-COVID.
Yeah.
And in that being the case, kusho ukuthi if ku-affecteke the whole world, ku-affecteke ama corporates, ku-affecteka wona, ku-affecteka ama family incomes, ku-affecteka ama individuals. So there was no trade going on. There was no income. Well, there was no income. In most instances, there was no income.
Yeah.
Angifuni ukwenza ama-examples there was no income at all ngoba Amazon made a lot of money during COVID.
Absolutely, yes.
Because of the moving to online.
Yeah.
So, but if ubheka ku-affected quite a lot of people. Others lost jobs, and families were disturbed in that sense. So income in most cases it dropped.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, ngithi affected ama organizations, and we bring it back to a context of the church.
Yeah.
You can then begin to see ukuthi uma affecteka a church, affecteka njengawo wonke nje amanye ama organizations, which actually means then ukuthi leadership has got to rise above ama circumstances ebhekene now.
Yeah.
And it's not just it's not just an issue of finances that's affected. Ku-affecteka ama structures, ku-affecteke the morale of the people, go-affecteka. I mean, remember what people lost jobs, they lost their loved ones, they lost the income. It's quite a lot of things that happened. I mean, others got sick and recovered in the midst of the COVID. Yes. So there's quite a lot of things, which actually means that leadership has to rise to now try and lead these people. Yes. Yep. And then lead this organization back to where it was, or lead this organization to a point ezobayisa into living in this particular time. Yes. So I think the biggest issue, if maybe I may add, is not just ukuthi COVID affected our finances. COVID affected a lot of things as it fall apart. Of course, accelerated other things and brought us to a particular point. So what we need to see rising up is good leadership. And it's also difficult because our leaders also were affected. But it's not only just the issue yoguti, we need to good leaders to rise. I mean, if you look at all different kinds of schools and models of leadership has always been transforming. Ayisafani leadership yaqala la kwakunikeza khona yayidinga khona abantu to be physically present in order to lead them. To marshal orders, to give instructions,
security,
and they execute. Imovile to a shift where it is knowledge based. Even when people go to a doctor, they've got knowledge, they've got a bit of basic report and understanding. So leadership is now really a complex leadership that we are at now. So your complexity adaptive leadership style needs to come in, which is also a very complex issue, because it comes from your complexity science, which suggests that there should be a paradigm shift of VE leadership, which we should now start to exercise, which is now talking about advancing learning kakhulu to everyone. It also talks about everyone being innovative and everyone to adapt to change continuously. I mean, that's your complexity science is bringing, say, leadership should move into that direction. So asi ngayibheki mhlawumbe ngokuthi amakholwa noma amasonto alahlekelwe income, amakholwa alahlekelwe into eziningi kakhulu. The organizations are at a point where they need your complexity adaptive leadership. You know, your complexity science needs to kick in. So you need to start trying to do something else and something different so that you can then give rise to these organizations that are going to be relevant again in the society. I mean, people are saying abantu abaseze emasontweni babona ama alternatives okuhlala kwi TV. It's not a case. They've got an option now. They're adapting, and they've adapted to saying, look, I can go to church online, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, my buga yen. So is that when asikwazi ukuthi sithi preach, you would know something wrong with sitting at home. There is an option now. Yokuhlala ekhaya athole content. Uzoyithola lana koMhlongo, ayithole kuDlamini, ayithole kuNdamane, ayithole everywhere else. Which actually means that as a pastor you are leading at a complex time.
Yes.
Your leadership then should start rising and start speaking to this complex situation.
Subscription fees
but there is nothing wrong. There's nothing.
YouTube 40 rand ngenyanga.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, look, I'll give a typical example of where we are now. Sport, as an example. Mina ngikhulelele emakhaya, I did not know anything about Kaizer Chiefs because the Chiefs bengiyase Soweto. But ke mhlambe abantu ababe before me. But look at what happened with the sport. Isport besidlalwa egroundini kube kuphoqa ukuthi ihlwele maziye egroundini.
Yes.
And ama teams were supported la aziwa khona. So kwahamba isikhathi, sport started introducing media, sa introduce i-radio. So kwathi kudlalwa egoli kwakhona umuntu ohlezi stadium osakaza la wonke omunye umuntu.
Yes.
That began to create a complexity around the sport. Yes. And you know what they said? They said, no, abalandeli basezokuya enkundleni. But no, that wasn't the case. TV came on board. It began to create a different situation as well. Gave people options zokuthi no mawungakwazi ukuya stadium hamba ubuke ibhola e-TV noma ulalele eradweni. I mean, even better, abantu ubese, because now they started having this hybrid mode yokuthi ngine option yokulubuka e-TV ngilalele eradweni noma ngiye stadium ibhola. I can do both. I don't know if you remember kwakukhona isikhathi la sasithanda khona uJoe udla indlela akhomenta ngayo sithi sibuka i-TV sibe silalela i-radio.
Yes.
You know,
ufuna ukubona kodwa nje uJoe udla isho ngayo.
So now what did that give rise to? Did it take away the love ka-teenage dladla odlalayo? No, it did not. But it added ukuthi uyazi kodwa ngiyamthanda uma esechazwa uJoe udla emsakazweni.
Yes.
But uma ngingekho lapha e-stadium ngiyakuthanda lokho. But what am I trying to explain ngale scenario? This is where we are as a church. We're coming from where dominantly bekuthiwa abantu abaye esontweni. You know, soccer and normal sport has come and evolved in that. And I can tell you now, Guti, with the introduction of media, radio and TV and now social media, in sport, it gave birth to a huge economy of its own. In marketing gave rise, the marketing rights that go with that, the rights to broadcast the games and all the media rights that come with it. It's a huge economy of its own in terms of its sport. I mean, Soccer World Cup is not mainly about the teams playing. Of course it is. But it is also now a huge economical issue for the countries and for the companies that get marketing, the broadcasting and so forth. This is where we are as a church. And as a church, we should start to embrace both your social media platforms as them being there to stay, and start creating and having a focus in terms of the hybrid, in terms of how we are going to go forward. But it takes leadership, and then it's then going to talk about, I think I wouldn't like to talk about just the financial part, but the whole health of the organization.
Yeah.
And I said earlier on, it's a paradigm shift. It's a complex situation which requires that leaders lead in that complex situation.
Yes, the financial viability of the church is also informed by the audience of the church. Yes, so njobe seshilo umfundisi Ndamane, I think what you need to mina ngingena la khona ukuthi asibe ne diversified form la khona, because at the end of the day we there is that aspect of social media, digital world, and then but as human beings we are social beings. From time to time we so as a catering go to so mina ngi-advance nje ukuthi ikhona indlela okufanele sifunde uku-operator kwi-social digital world. I'll make an example ukuthi because it's more like kufanele sithole indlela yokwenza ukuthi yini eyenza ukuthi ulalelwe abantu. Yabo leyo nto, how do you handle yourself uma ngabe ushumayela in that space, which is different, because there are certain things ezinyo zenzayo uma ngabe ukhona physically in the church eyenza abantu babe interested and listen to you. So there are certain things that you need to learn again ukuthi yini eyenza umuntu abuke uma ngabe ubuka i-TV endlini. Uma ubuka i-TV endlini uyakwazi ukuthi uma kukhuluma umuntu oyedwa kungekho ezinye izinto ezikhona kuyabhora. Ngithi yabona le nto leyo. So kufanele ube kunezinto ezama appetizer, kunezinto ezenza ube ne-interest. Ngithi yabona. So noma ngishumayela kwi-cellphone kubalekile ukuthi, I'll make a very simple example ukuthi umuntu omayo yedwa eshumayela ubengafani nomuntu oma mhlambe nomculo noma ina mainstream. Sengisho in terms of the audience ukuthi laba basuke ku the keyboard kunomculo balaleleka kakhulu. Yes, balaleleka kakhulu kunomuntu oma yedwa. Angithi yabona lo, because it's TV. It's actually you are creating a content ye TV to be watched. So kufanele nawe indlela yakho owenza ngayo ucheck ukuthi uzobabamba uzoyilokhuza kanjani, how going to capture your own audience. Uyabona, because we used kulokwase sondeni, how do you capture with your jokes and all those things and any other drama and the analogies that you do.
Ababeshumayela bahlaba ngejubani behle benyuka begijima isonto lonke. It's difficult ukwenza online amakhamera imazintambo kube inqaba.
Yes. But another important thing ebengifuna ukuyisho siba ilena yokuthi amasonto ethu kufanele sishintshe indlela esenza ngayo. Ngoba asasikale nje into esimple ukuthi asigcineni isikhathi. Yes, asigcineni isikhathi. We need to question, because labantu laba banama options manje. Fanele umuntu fanele athi uma ngabe ethatha 3 hours. Abantu bafuna uku-accounta ngawo no 2 hours ukuthi isonto file libe 3 hours ngempela yini. Okay, uma liba 3 hours
besenzani
quality yalesi sikhathi esispendile. Uyabona noma kwesinye isikhathi one of the things engiyi-observile mina enye into e-waste isikhathi esontweni ukuthi umuntu ayephambili azokwenza into engayibizelwe. Yes, bese kwese kudleka isikhathi athi umuntu mangabe bheka isonto elithatha 1 hour 30 minutes athi there is value kunesonto elithatha 3 hours 4 hours, and then you lose people. Uyabona leyo nto. So nakhona kwi-digital space you can have ungayithola ilokhuzana, ungathola umnikelo kwi-digital space, but it depends ukuthi i-content yakho uyidayise kanjani, ilokhu zilihleleke kanjani. So what I'm saying ukuthi ukhiye esontweni i-content yesonto izositshena ukuthi sikhona yini isidingo sokuthi umuntu ezesontweni. Uma ngabe umuntu drive 45 minutes ezesontweni, is there value for money? Is content yakho, delivery yakhona, i package of the church justify yini ngizothi yini, is it fruitful expenditure yini ukuthi ngiye khona. So that is important. Sibizeleka ekutheni fanele sizimanage sibe professional nathi as a church.
So we are saying, Ndamane, the brand we are selling or the product or our offering must appeal to a person to invest in your offering, be it time or financial resources or whatever. Akube into aphilayo. Umuntu angasho ukuthi ngiyaya laphana kodwa I'm just wasting my time.
That's true. Yes, that is very, very important. In fact,
question then, if that's the case, Bafowethu, realistically, if we were to do our Facebook skills audit, readiness, are we ready for this change? Given Ndamane, we were pushed. I think
Yes.
we were pushed
by
Facebook. Sorry, by pandemic. And the evidence yaloko ikhona. Some people wabona ukuthi bafuna ukushumayela kodwa bangaphansi kwesihlahla. Yabo benza nge-cellphone because isimo sasiphoqa.
Yeah, that's true.
Ultimately abantu balithola izilenkosi. Yabona into engishoyo. The question is, are we ready? Because there are a lot of things as you are talking that comes to mind.
Yes.
Where ubone khona ukuthi this person usa running konzo as if usasesontweni elphysical yedwa.
Yes.
Yabo, even noma eshumayela omunye nje usana nebhithi uthi hallelujah. Yabo, because that's how you are used to.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
The question is, as a country, looking at our country, are we ready for this move?
I don't know if just before I think any issue ebhekene nayo ilena ukuthi besingekho ready ngoba besenza besishumayela for the sake of ukushumayela. Think about it this way. What do you say about a person who is forced by circumstances of COVID ukuthi ashumayele kwa Facebook kade ushaye Facebook? Yabona ashumayele ku social media kade ishaya i social media ethi ikasathana. So now I audience yakhe ivela izwane social media ngoba iloko akufakile useyashumayela kanayi following. Yabona. And number 2, singene kuma social media space singazange siyenze research ukuthi bakhona abantu bamba ku Facebook vele noma ku Instagram. So isiphi social media space that is aphila ku audience engishumayela kuyona mina.
Ngoba ngaphela lethi nishumayela nakhona nengane enqulu khona ku Facebook wona nishumayela khona.
Yes.
Yabona nje lethi sixaxa ikhola mele athi nje usathane mewa ngophela usathane usaphiza umuntu kaNkulunkulu nje haleluya uvela sathane kuvele ukukhuphukile ukuza nangu umntana sikhulu.
Yes.
Uphinde ehlele kumfundisi awusazi
konakele. Yeah.
Is it the right platform?
Look, I think there's quite a lot. I mean, you could ask the same thing about the internet. Ukuthi yini egcwele kakhulu ku internet. I mean, ungathi kasathana. But there's positives that come out of it. If you're looking at just social media and if we are ready in general, I think first of all we've got to take time and to study. Like I said, I mean, we're living in those adaptive situations where we have to quickly adapt.
Yep.
Yes.
And where we have to quickly innovate, where we have to continue learning.
Yeah.
You know, so then it just completes your life as a leader somehow, because then you're able to adapt, you're able to learn, you know, you're able to innovate, you're able to adapt. That should be a very important aspect right now for any leader. I mean, look, social media has introduced quite a lot of things. We have to keep trying kwesinye isikhathi. Kodwa akubalekile ukuthi singabi shy ukuthola ulwazi nokufunda abantu abazosisiza. Everyone is learning, and everyone who advances is adapting, and they're becoming innovative. I mean, all we knew ngama adverts isase radio, and it could run about 30 minutes, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. You could capture your audience. I mean, time as time went by, they are reducing and over time. Now you've got to capture your audience in 3 seconds, in 7 seconds. In 15 seconds is the maximum. TikTok has taught us that.
Yeah, that's true.
Give me 3 seconds, then decide uthi ngiyaqhubeka yini ngiyayibuka into yakho. Give me 7 seconds. Ngamanye amagama intshumayelo yakho kufanele ibe ngango 3 seconds.
Yeah.
No 7 seconds. No 15 seconds.
Ujesu madoda uhlelwa uthi elebesisho ngale hour.
So
7 seconds.
So the complexity of the time esiphila kuyona manje is calling for us to innovate, to be adaptive, to repackage the sermons.
Yes.
To repackage how we present the gospel.
That's true.
Umuntu ozalwe ngo-2004 uzalwe kukhona Facebook. Loyo umuntu una 18. So abantu abana 18, they grew up kukhona Facebook. So if you are going to start saying Facebook mumbi noma usanenkinga ne-digitals, the social media nje space in general, usenkingeni because they grew up, to them it's normal, it's the norm. If usazolokhu uparent angazi ukuthi wena ukhuliswa, these kids grew up knowing there's a cell phone. Umuntu ozalwe ngo-2004, cell phones had matured so much over 10 years.
Yes.
At that time. They were born with smartphones. So angeke sisakwazi ukuthi sishintshe ezinye izinto. So as a church, i-position yethu should be saying what is happening around that we should learn from. Because mawukuthi uzoshumayela, angeke ukuthi uzoshumayeza amakholwa akwi-age yakho. Uzoshumayeza labantu abaphila lapha somewhere. You want to bring them over.
Yes.
So understand where are they in terms of the state of mind, in terms of the life they are living. I was just thinking about Mhlongo ekhuluma la. I mean, even your kids, how are you going to raise your kids? Your kids uzobakhulisa, yes, but mawuthi uzofuna ukubahlalisa around the table, bazodina ukuthi ubabizile. Oqala what abahlale around the table bese kwesibili ubadina kakhulu mase put your cell phones down noma fana ku basket
just communicate ngomlomo
bese just communicate. You are trying to bring them to your old age. If you want these people, create a nice group for them, a social media group, communicate with them. You get more responses, you get to interact with your children. You understand where they are.
Share a lot of jokes lapha with group.
So we as a church do not want to move. And I think I can say this boldly, Uguti, leaders who are going to fall in church are those who are going to try and bring us down and say, no, asingahambi nento zokufika. And it's people who are not going to be adaptive, who are not going to innovate, who are not going to continuously learn. Those are the people who are not going to progress. And I think it's good that we share it up front. If as a leader in your church, you are not going to be adaptive, you are not going to be innovative, you are not going to be continuously learning. And I think those should categorize leaders as well in terms of the organizations and churches that we are leading. So umasizo abantu abangazophumelela abantu abanjalo, and amasonto ne message yabe engazokufinyelela ndawo ilabantu abangazokwazi ukuma kuleyo borderline, because that's where we are saying that we are moving now.
It's a reality yokuthi I think we're sharing that thing. It's mina ingane zamanje, young people zamanje abafani nathi. Yes, tina we sikhuliswe nge-instruction. No, laba bayithatha instruction. They question. And you must not be offended, because it's not because back disrespect. No, they you lead them by relationship laba. You must relate to them. Fanele ukukhulume usho ubanikeza background yokuthi le instruction oyishoyo
isuka
what motivates it. But I think we as preachers, mhlambe thina siku mid local that age, we need to get a cue from our kids. Ingane zethu uma ngabe usumdala kuthina, abazukulu bakho indlela abayiyona ibona abakwazi okufanele ukwazi ukufunda kubona ukuthi sikusiphi isikhathi. You get a cue from them ukuthi baphila kanjani, how do they view the world, what is their perspective of things and all that, and then you must learn from them. Bese uyaz-adapter kuleso sikhathi ukuze ukwazi ukuthi ulokhuze ube relevant even elokhuze lesontweni. One of the things engizishoyo ukuthi you see even music in the church, kufanele ikwazi ukufaka bonke abantu. So lezi ngane zethu, they don't listen to abawuthandi lo mculo esiwuthandayo. Uyabo leyo nto. Mhlawumbe you need to be careful ukuthi i-sound singacabanga ukuthi uma ngabe i-sound ishintshile kuloko esikuthandayo kusho ukuthi sekhona into sekulimela ivangeli. Their lyrics, ama lyrics are right, but the sound is different. So it doesn't mean umculo wabantu abangakholwa. So we need to it's adapter. We need to be able to adapt kulesi sikhathi ngayo yonke indlela. But at the same time we must also be accommodative of our generations. Yes, in one church. Ukwazi ukungabi isonto engekho accommodative of young people. Lingabi accommodative of abantu abalokuzela but it depends ukuthi wena what do you choose ukhethe bani wena.
But umuntu omdala umenza kanjani understand Dr. Tum ukuthi ucula kanjani?
No you don't.
Umuntu icula amagama okuhlabelela.
Umuntu omdala ke mfethu angamlalela uDr. Tum, angamthanda uDr. Tum, kodwa athanda ukuthi ingane yakhe iyakhonza ngoba ukucula ingoma kaDr. Tum, bese umuntu omdala ubumfakele ilokhuzana bodade nabafo kunjani. Yes,
ngoba abantu abadala ngeke bayingene
bonke bahlangane la.
Ngoba phela indlela elisho ngayo usho ukuthi kufanele sibe nengoma zabazalwane ezongena kuma piano ezo-accommodate lezinga ngoba izithanda leyo nto lezinga.
Look, I think I have a different view. If you ithi umuntu ophila kulesikhathi uNkulunkulu amvumele ukuthi aphile kulesikhathi owalesikhathi.
All right.
So there's no one ophila kune former years. Ma uphila la wethu na 80 umuntu wa 80 ophila ngo2022 which umusic odlalwayo uma udominant kwamapiano kusho ukuthi uphila esikhathini samapiano. Ngena kumapiano.
Yeah.
But it's my own opinion. It's my own opinion in a sense yokuthi ngeke uye esitolo uthi uyofuna impahla zakudala because umuntu wama-70s noma ama-80s nefinish yakho nefashion yakho. You can't say ngifuna ukuyodlala ama-LP ama-record ngoba ngakhula you're not there.
Yes, you're not there.
You need to be on YouTube, you need to be on iPhones, you need to be. So akekho umuntu wakudala. So I'm saying now, there is no need to keep taking abantu abadala kudala. If you are going to define church, define it according to vision, not people. Then church should not accommodate people, church should accommodate vision. What is your purpose for existence? Why are you existing? Then you develop, everything stems from there. Are you existing to please old people? If we're old age home, of course, then you create your thing as an old age home. Are you a church for old people? Then you're creating it in that sense. But even in that sense,
yes,
kukhona TV that were not there. So if you want to say, no, the gospel must go back, you can't crisscross lezi zinto zombili. Everything else has moved. No, it's not gonna work.
No.
Let change yangenzeka before. In other words, have we ever seen ivangeli angazi uma ngithi lilandela isitayela noma lihamba nesikhathi?
Yeah, I wouldn't really. I agree with you, Ndamane, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm saying if we are in the church, a church should be a home for everybody.
Right.
I understand. What I'm saying ukuthi mina what I'm saying ukuthi umuntu mangabe khona esontweni, abantu esontweni banezinto eziningi abazifunayo.
Interject la
abangakwazi ukuthi bazithole. What we are saying ukuthi zikhona izinto that I eat, that are not my favorite, but I eat them. Understand? There is a certain type of music that is not my genre of music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kodwa it doesn't mean ukuthi uyangibulala uma ngabe uculwa. So what I'm saying ukuthi abantu abadala they should be accommodative of the contemporary music that appeals to young people.
Yeah.
But at the same time I feel ukuthi abantu abasha
accommodate.
They must accommodate abantu abadala because in the next 20 years labantu abasha bazobe ba abantu abadala. There will be another generation okufanele nabo bakwazi ukuthi accommodate one so that the church becomes a home for everybody.
So imagine if you're accommodating abantu abadala laba abasha ungaba accommodateanga uthi uzoba ne void. I'll give a typical example. I think I look at the political landscape in South Africa. Who are the current political leaders? I'm sorry, I think I'll take it out of context. But who are the current political leaders akufanele ngabe ba in power now? Because every generation gives birth after its own kind.
Yes,
so
true.
ngamanye amagama kusho ukuthi president should be someone that is of age okurelatekayo ngayo, even ministers and so forth. So what the political space in South Africa is doing is that it's creating a void. Kuna gap enkulu. Kuna generation engazukuvela.
That's true.
Bese mhlambe kuyothi makunyamalala le, if le it decide ukuthi asibanganaso isikhathi kuzo emerge a generation. But I'm going to a point of a church. If you go to a point of a church and you accommodate older people, uzo create a void kuzoba ne generation engazukuba khona.
Yeah.
No, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying ukuthi in a church you can accommodate everybody. In a church you can accommodate everybody. You as a leader, fanele ukwazi ukuadapta, wazi ukuthi ukhuluma across generations within one space. I need to understand, and I'm saying ukuthi abantu abadala nabantu abasha they can be accommodated in one church.
But Ndamane ngicela ukuyibuzela nje noNdamane ukuthi ave kuyi sickness yebandla ukuresist change. Kodwa uthola ukuthi abanye abantu in general are moving forward.
No, I'll agree. I mean, typical example shows what I'm going to interject ukuthi in church you want to accommodate abantu abadala by creating particular examples. But I was going to go to a point ethi kwakho mawunogogo. What do you do? Mawufuna ukudlala umculo umlandela ama record amadala, or do you bring old blankets or old fashioned to ufuta ugqoke, or old food, organic food ozoyitshala engadini uthi ngoba umuntu omdala? We don't do that. We simply live according to what's available to us right now. They consume content on TV ekhona right now. They consume music okhona. So ngamanye amagama it is of natural cause ukuthi bona ba grow. Ithina sifuna ukuvimba abantu ukuthi ba grow to this times. Ngoba sifuna ukuba hold back to the older times as though they can't grow.
Ufikisela kwazi nje sino 75 sikhuluma ngesibaya sisijakubo isibaya.
Yes.
Isibaya fana ngabe senzele generation encane, but abantu abadala are moving forward, they're watching it.
No, that's true.
Isikhule thina izalukwazi zihola kwi truck evela kwa SASSA bezo collect imali bafika baginqa ithupha. Kwafika amakhadi because there is a need ba progress ayibona manje sebazama secret code at 85 yazi secret code yakho ukuthi make 2 million keep imali. But at church you find ukuthi we angazi masiyabavumela kakhulu yini to stay behind.
Okay.
Angazi noma we over accommodate them. I understand njengoba ukuthi vele there should be a balance. You can't expect ukuthi umuntu ono 75 ashaya amavosho. Ngiya understand that.
No, that's true.
But I'm saying mhlambe ave si accommodate kakhulu yini sigcine sesibulala I generation ngoba enye into engivamise ukuyibona futhi amasonto ethu kugcwele abantu abancane. In most of the churches in fact church isonto health fanele igcwala abantu abancane. Costly guarantee future ukuthi abantu bakhona uzothola ukuthi program ilento esesenza kudala uthola ukuthi kuvakashe India esontweni elilodwa elikhuluma isingisi inkonzo ka 2 hours igcina isiwu 4 hours because kuyatoliwa waya uma uthi uyabheka kutoli akhonditha indiya elilodwa.
Yes.
Sonke siyasazi isiZulu. Are we not doing that as a church? Uthola ukuthi mase ibandla lina 500 el attend inkonzo ogogo ba 14. And then you've got a program yesonto ezorana ngesidala about say 80% of or 50% of the time for abantu aba 18 who are adapting kwezinye izinto outside. Usehole bank useyazi ukuthi igrant ivuselelwa ngoWhatsApp, useyazi ukuthi ufanele sendeni ukuze they adapting other things, but kwezinye mhlambe are we not over accommodating bafowethu?
I don't know. I think we should accommodate. I don't think we should over accommodate.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's some people we need to people must learn to compromise. Yes, but at the same time ngicela ukuveza futhi ukuthi there's nothing wrong ngokuba isonto where you specialize in young people only.
Okay.
Yeah, your target market is just young people.
Interesting.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Interesting.
There's nothing wrong again to have your target market. I mean, the radio stations do that. The radio stations do that. Target market yakhe mhlawumbe 16 years to a particular age,
yeah,
to 35 omunye abanye i-target market yabo u-30 no 40 yabo lona. Abanye some churches noma bengashonga ukuthi i-target market yabo ubani. Got i-target market yabo, it's older people. You have people in one church. You can have a youth service on a Friday that accommodates young people.
Yeah.
On Thursday, because omakota beko basemsebenzini khona gogo on a Thursday, but accommodated it's one church.
Yeah.
You've got couples. You've got couples,
yeah,
abantu who are young, but it's one church.
Yeah.
Kodwa elikwazi accommodate bonke abanye abantu. But when we go back to the question mhlambi lena yokuthi imali,
yeah,
for us as a church ukuthi sikwazi ukuthi abantu banikele, it is important to accommodate. Ibandla must accommodate izinhlobo ezahlukene zabantu ukuze likwazi ukuthi libe financially viable kulesi sikhathi esilokuza esiphila kusona. But ngicela ukuveza konke kade ekhuluma uNdamane kade ekhuluma ngendaba ama challenges akhona emsebenzini, abantu baphelelwe imisebenzi nayo yonke into. Ngifisa abefundisi who are leaders babe accommodate, sibe nobuntu, sibe nobuntu, ungabi nama demands of a normal society in an abnormal situation. In an abnormal society uthola ukuthi when you abantu baya recover gradually, baya recover abantu kancane angithi yabona lonto le nawe as umfundisi iba nobuntu. Yabona ungathi ngoba naku isisu siyakushaya uyashaya esiswini bese ugcina ungasabazwela abantu, ungabi khona ubuntu, kugcine manje abantu bagcine bengasezi enkonzweni. Ucabanga ukuthi nayo ingenxa ukuthi nje abantu sebewile kanti bashawa pressure obashaya yona, not because they don't want to give, but isimo siyalokhuza siya asihambe kahle. Yes.
Yeah, isikhathi sesiphelile. Cishe ngabuza ukuthi bona abafundisi abayingani ngosebenza. Ngiyayibuzela nje
bayolima igadi. Bayolima igadi.
Bengithi ngiyayibuzela mhlambe
amanye amalokuzana ama streams of income.
Ukuthi nje uyishayela litekisi emini memkhule kwenu.
I think this new generation of pastors, they're actually doing that. They're actually doing that. Then we'll encourage abantu ukuthi asithole ezinye indlela
zokuthola imali.
Yes, ukuze ukushumayela kuzosiza sibe authentic as well in our preaching, sibe genuine.
Yeah.
Yabo lo nto udinga imali usho udinga imali. Yabo lo nto ungasebenzisa amanga, usebenzisa ama gimmicks because ufuna abantu balokhoze banike, ube genuine.
Yes.
I think the financial model of the church is not just the entire church, Africans in particular.
Yes.
Is incorrect. That's my view. I think we don't do ama demographical studies wethu abantu esikhuleka kubona.
Yeah.
Esishumela kubona.
Yes.
We demand, like Ndamane says, more than what they can give us.
Yes.
But I think the whole financial model is incorrect. uvele kufanele ngabe i-COVID isifice sinama reserve.
Unjalo.
Yeah.
Kufanele ngabe nje ithi yasishaya based on business continuity plans wethu.
Yes.
Sinama reserves vele. Sidiga into ama reserves. But I think the whole model yokuthola imali is not working for us.
Yeah.
We probably should look at different models of integrating and look at the whole economical system. Kodwa ke mhlambe we are also deprived as blacks, Africans in particular. We are deprived of a bit of economical knowledge due to economical exclusion. So economical exclusion, it goes beyond imnikele sicela. So economical exclusion ibonakala nasemasontweni. Ubona ukuthi le exclusion into economy yenza ukuthi sifune imali in wrong places or incorrectly.
Yeah.
But mhlawumbe it's a subject for another day ngoba iyona into kufanele siyibheke leyo ukuthi how are we going to finance our programs and asiyisaphi. That I think is what we need to look at.
Yes.
We've run out of time, bafowethu. This is very interesting.
Yeah.
It was very informative as nikhulumile namhlanje. I'm sure ukuthi it has added value kubafowethu nodadewethu.
Yeah.
Iqiniso lithi akekho umuntu onemodel njengamanje angayibeka phezulu kwetafula athi nje nayi izosebenza, but izodinga ukuthi kuhlalwe phansi kanje, which is why the approach is not a debate like we normally debate. This one, I want people to bring in and contribute to make sure that we stabilize the body of Christ, because no matter the church, because yabo indlela wenzeka ngayo kuningi okonakele ningo sekushintshelile. Uyabona ukuvuka ekseni kade ukwazi ukusukuma uprofeta umuntu akunikeza 10,000 uzomprofeta kanjani umuntu ku Facebook manje?
Yeah.
Yabo. So the whole thing is here.
Prophetic inbox.
Uzomprofeta inbox.
Inbox, yeah.
Inkinga uzomprofeta inbox uyabaleka ushaya uyachitha. Igama naye ibiza ngayo lo wrong. Akulona igama lakhe la ngempela. Siningi into emoshakele. Yabona uzoprofeta uZweli kanti ku social media bizwa ngosiba. Yabona ukuthi covenant kanjani. So leyo ke leyo nto into challenge. So I'm hoping ukuthi abafundisi nabazalwane at large bafundile kuloko esikhulumile. We continue with this discussion. Ngiyabonga kakhulu bafowethu. Your final remarks Mhlongo?
No, siyabonga kakhulu Siba. Bazalwane isikhathi esidlule kusona besinzima. Ama systems, I think we need to go back to rebuilding. Ama systems ethu, ama structures ethu. Mhlambe futhi sinikeza nethuba lokuthi sakhe correctly. Izinto ebesiyibona ukuthi azikho sustainable, nezinto kade sizibona ukuthi mhlambe bezingekho based ezwini, kusinikeza ithuba lokuthi sihambe sokwakha kabusha, sakhe kabusha. Sithi siyibuza ukuthi uma ngase kufike ipandemic, sifunde ngale pandemic ukuthi uma bisifica enye isifice silokhuzile, si strong. And I think we also need to do our investments as churches. Yes, ukuthi sibe nama reserves as a church. Kube khona your account esebenzayo bese kuba khona account ebheke nje ilokhuzana ukuthi uma kwenzeka kuba nesimo esijengana lesi ukwazi ukusurvive. I think so. Yebo.
Yep.
Yeah, no, siyabonga kakhulu ithuba osinikeze lona. Someone once said ukuthi in the future illiteracy is not going to be defined by inability to read or write, but by your ability to unlearn, to learn, and to relearn. So I think we need to be those kind of people if sizokwazi ukusurvive in the future. That's my view.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Oh, this was good. Thank you so much. Ngibonga kakhulu. Ndamane banjithini ispace siyasithenga lapha ku Meta.
Yes, Baba. We need a first church. We need a first church to buy space ku metaverse. Ku metaverse. If khona nje ocanga ngasixhasa ngokuthi siyothenga space ku metaverse so we can have the first church.
Hey, to be cool lapha. Sifaka ama virtual Louis Vuittons nama virtual Gucci. Ngizobe ikhipha lapha la Mhlongo uyabona. sibe ne virtual band.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
no,
the
it's
future of the church.
Yeah.
Bafethu, thank you so much. Thank you so much to our viewers. Thank you, Bazalwane, for tuning in. We've gone way out of our broadcast time. God Siyabonga for tuning in. Thank you to our 760 crew for making this broadcast a success. Our sponsors, Siyabonga for the never-ending support. Siyaqhubeka sikhuluma indaba yethu. Inkosi kanibusise nibe nobusuku obuhle. Good night.